cover story for May is an interview with Minda Duttler, writer, advocate, and the first female wheelchair athlete Ironman triathlon finisher. Also included in this annual mobility-themed issue are topics ranging from equine therapy to public transportation. Sign up to receive this and every issue for free at epmagazine.com.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of REITs Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, Two Lives at Once. And with every wreath you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. Two Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, two lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to reatsacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's reatsacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
Suicide is preventable, and each of us has a role to play in suicide prevention.
Suicide is complex. There is no single cause.
And it's not always a mental health issue. It could be loss of a job or home, financial or relationship issues, pain, or leaving the military.
Suicide does not discriminate. It affects all ages, races, and genders, veterans or not.
If you know a veteran who is struggling, connect with them. Let them know help is available.
There is quick and easy access to services in times of crisis.
Dial 988, then press 1. Talking about it is okay.
Don't keep it inside. Don't be ashamed. Don't wait. Reach out.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Hello, and welcome again to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis, Marine Corps veteran, and your host. Oscar Mike Radio is part of the Hubuzoo Network. You can find out more on hubuzoo.com. I want to thank my sponsors, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, Army National Guard veteran Mark Holmes of Reapers Detailing and Power Washing, and my supporters, Kason Shaving Company, Exceptional Parent Magazine, and Black Cat Designs. I'm just going to say it right now, folks. I love talking to Marines. You know, and I'll talk to anybody on Oscar Mike Radio, civilians, you know, Coast Guard. I haven't talked to Space Force yet, run the gamut, but there's just something about talking to my brother Marines that just fuels my fire. It makes me feel like, oh, it's just different. And this gentleman, you know, to my opposite is Scotti Fraser from Texas, recording artist, served in the Marine Corps, and has like true like patriotic, you know, emotions going on in his songs. Scotti Fraser, thank you for coming on Oscar Mike Radio. Welcome.
Thank you so very much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you, my brother.
Absolutely. Likewise, likewise. So, you know, we got connected and I checked out, you know, your YouTube page and some of your music, and I'm like, you know, I'm digging it. I'm digging it because I'm not a country guy, you know, and you're kind of like a country rock and roll hybrid combo thing. But I'm like, I was digging it. So we'll get into all that good stuff because it's all good. But before we do that, kind of give us a background of who Scotti is and, you know, how your Marine Corps experience was. And then we'll go into your musical career, please.
Cool. Well, I'm originally from California, West Coast guy. Very, very proud to say that for the last 20 years, I've been a Texas guy. And I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area in the shadow of the big kids like Metallica and Exodus and a lot of these metal bands, and saw a lot of those at the shows and was instantly into music. So I knew from the first note that I heard on a Kiss record when I was a little kid, there was something about that guitar and something about it for me. So there was an allure and a draw there always. And all through my life and my Marine Corps service, through the good times and the bad and the scary and the sad and the happy, music was always the thing that grounded me and kept me going. I started playing in bands at a very young age as a teenager. And by the time that I was out of my high school years, I toured the West Coast a couple times with a punk band out of San Francisco Bay Area. I traveled from San Diego to Seattle, and really loved the music experience with my guys. And I went into some more rock styled bands as the 90s came in, and was very blessed to have been in a very successful band in San Francisco called Mr. Hyde. Name might be lost to the ages, but we did really, really well. And the record contract just eluded us. We were a little too late maybe on that train. But even though we were playing to sold out venues, sold out clubs, and traveling, playing Hollywood a lot, there was just something missing, and something I wanted to accomplish, kind of the next bigger challenge. I've always been a challenge-oriented guy, and I've always wanted to go for the mountaintop and not the hillside. Just always been, maybe that's a Marine thing as well that resonates with you. But ever since I was a kid, I either wanted to be a rock star or a Marine. Very simple, cut and dry, ever since 6, 7 years old. So I pulled out of the music scene in the 90s and enlisted in the Marine Corps. And that turned into a 10-year career between reserve and active duty, some combat time in the Middle East, and some great inspiration for everything that my solo music career is about now. A lot of it is inspired by that beautiful flag behind you. And a lot of my music and my lyrical content is inspired by my brothers that I served with and my time in service.
Just going back a little bit, I went to MCRD San Diego, so we both know what real hills are all about and climbing those, right?
Right, hills and mountains, absolutely.
What was it like getting to the top of the Reaper? Just I always ask West Coast Marines what that's like, because our Paris Island brethren missed all that. What was that like? It's a long way ago, but still, it's something that everybody tells me this, something different.
You are definitely feeling the burning in your legs, the pain in your body, carrying that combat load pack all the way up a very steep mountain. And it's a great, the Crucible, the Reaper, it's a great test in that brotherhood and sisterhood, because you are helping each other up. The only way to get up to the top of that mountain is to pull each other, to help each other, to motivate each other. And you get to the top, and basically, I just remember being on the top of the world, right, looking down, seeing everything. And the drill instructor said, God has laid out the world before you. The world is yours to conquer. And those tears start rolling. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
It was, I tell people, like there was nothing like it. Like, it's one of the few times in my life where I'm like, I've really done something. I know it's just a hill, but when you realize, oh my God, I went from there to there with just my own 2 legs, It was something else.
Absolutely.
So did you stick into music during the Marine Corps? Because I always had a couple guys who either had their, you know, conga drums or their guitar, or a couple guys had their basses, and they weren't playing in a band, but they were either practicing their scales or arpeggios or just writing songs. Were you able to kind of keep in touch with your music while you were serving?
I did. There was times that someone would always have a guitar around the barracks, and I'd noodle on it. I'd played guitar and bass before I joined service, so it was always a thrill to find one of those. I do remember being in Guantanamo, and we did my unit. I did a deployment with the Fast Company, and we did the fence line security out there in Guantanamo, and we were out there in 2000, and they have this area where folks can go hear music, and the civilians can come, and the Marines that are off duty on that weekend, you can have some beers, you can have some food and all that stuff. And they had a stage and they had a band, and they played a bunch of covers. And the long and short of it is, me and about 6 other Marines basically commandeered their equipment and the stage one night. And in different levels of drinking state, we started rocking out, and we kind of gave the frag order, gave the sit rep, picked the song, talked about who was going to do what, and we did Knockin' on Heaven's Door, and we must have played it for 30 minutes. And the Marines and the sailors that were there went crazy. But even in those places, I've been able to find a way to do music. And it was really, really cool, because it wasn't just about me in that moment. It was about how happy it made my brothers in service that were in the crowd watching us. It was really
Sure,
cool.
for sure. You serve in combat, right? You do
Yes.
all that. Did music help you through that time as well?
Very much so. There were certain songs that almost haunted me through combat. So I was when I got there in 2003, we were in the push and the invasion, and that long road up the highway to hell, from Kuwait to Baghdad, firefight after firefight. And Metallica's Anywhere I Roam just kept cycling through my head. And it seemed like it was a very fitting song. And, various songs that kind of kept me positive and kept me hope, kept cycling through my head. An interesting story, if I may,
Sure.
is my best friend. So I was a sergeant then, and I was a squad leader, infantry squad leader, and my best friend, was my corpsman. And me and Doc used to sing the Talking Heads, "We're on the road to nowhere, come on with me." But we didn't know the words correctly, and we butchered the words. But when times would get tough, whether it's after a firefight, after gunfire, and we'd be rolling to the next city through the desert, we'd sing that to try and lift up the spirits of our 7-ton truck. So one of the songs that I open up with is a song that I modeled off of that song called Road to Nowhere. It's a much heavier groove kind of song. But the chorus says, "The road to nowhere made me who I am." And that song is about that highway to hell, to Baghdad, singing that song with Doc and trying to lift up the spirits of the Marines on our truck.
Nice, nice. What was it like getting out? Everybody goes into the military, everybody gets out at some point, and you have these varied experiences, and music's woven through that. When you got out, did you know that you were going to go right back into music, or did you have to kind of let things settle down internally before you made that decision, Scotti?
Well, when I got out, I came out, as a lot of veterans can relate to, I'm sure, came out a very different person. I'm still all Marine, extremely proud of my service. And as let's say as emotionally broken as I was from the things I'd seen, the graphicness, the visceralness of carnage in combat, I needed time to kind of slow down and heal. And by the grace of God, that happened, and that happened a lot, kind of locked up, alone in my house with my wife and young kids, and just trying to heal and find my way again. But kind of as you alluded to, there was always those songs that took me back. There's certain songs that will flash me back to San Clemente in San Diego, certain songs that'll flash me back to Iraq. And the long and short of it is, a few years into my time out, with having pretty recurrent nightmares about the war, I woke up one morning and at about 3 o'clock, as I do still after a nightmare, and I grabbed a guitar in my front room and I started writing what came to mind, kind of like how they tell a lot of vets in the VA to journal, to digest how you're feeling. And I started putting it into a song, and it became the song Do or Die, which we have an official music video for, which is about really the motto of it's definitely a Marine's motto, Semper Fi, do or die. But yeah, I just started penning those thoughts and those feelings and those visions into the song. And that was the beginning of it. One song led to one song. And a little bit later down the road, we've got a full album out. So always went back to music and telling that story, and hopefully giving hope and empowerment and strength to other veterans through these stories. I like to think that the mission is more than just me. This is about all who served. I write these songs from my personal experience, but I can't take full ownership of these songs. These are your songs. These are for all of us.
Fair enough. So we're gonna go light for just a couple seconds, because, like I told you, I have a standard question that I've asked several artists, civilian and military. They must answer. They're coming on this show, and Marine or not, there's no special treatment here. So let's just get this done and over with. You know how you work and you're grinding, Scotty. You're just, all the stuff you gotta do, just practicing your instruments and taking care of your voice. All that stuff is a lot of work. But then you might be like Paul McCartney or Neil Young or one of these other artists who has all this accomplishment, and someone says, hey, we'll buy your music catalog from you, and you can kind of like retire. And they do it because it's a lot of money. So the question is, I think Neil Young sold his catalog for, I know Paul McCartney sold his catalog for almost over $300 million, a third of $1 billion. I mean, it's hard to imagine. So here's the question. Let's just say I have a check and it will clear for $300 million, and I'm going to give it to you. But if I do, you can never perform music in public again. You can do it for yourself, but you can't perform in a VFW or in a stadium ever again. You're done. Would you take the money?
I don't need much time to think about that. I've already been thinking about it as you asked the question.
Okay.
It sounds like a very simple question. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if I took your money and didn't play again, it'd be the end of my life. So I will have to decline. I will have to decline your money. These songs that I perform, my friend, were earned in the desert, were earned in the blood of combat. And it's like, these are stories of guys I served with, guys that sacrificed. These are stories that are intended to bring hope and slow the veteran suicide epidemic. I just can't put a price tag on it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have had similar veterans say the same thing in so many words, that this isn't just, me trying to get a recording contract or get a lot of YouTube listens. Like, this is how I keep myself alive. And I just want my song to be out there for people to hear that. And this is life. If you cut that off, there's no amount of money that can fill that. So fair enough. There's no pass or fail here, but I got to treat everybody the same. So that being said, there's a lot of aspects to songwriting, producing a song, album, record, and touring, right? And what part do you like more than others? It's really interesting, Scotty. Some people like the songwriting part. Some people just like being in the studio. Some people don't care about the studio or songwriting part. They just want to perform. And I've met a couple of guys that just love to practice. Is there one aspect of the craft that you prefer over the other, or, how does that work for you?
For me, it's absolutely the live performance. I'm a very social guy, and it's about that connection. I do practice a lot. I'm actually sitting in my studio right now. To the right of me is a wall of amplifiers. And across from me is a pretty involved vintage vinyl record collection. It goes, that inspires me. To my left is an acoustic guitar that was given to me by my squad corpsman when we got back from the Middle East. And it is probably a $99 gift shop, beer store gift shop guitar that all of these songs have been written on. So yeah, very, very simple. So I'm playing throughout the day and throughout the night. And like I mentioned, 3 o'clock in the morning, the dreams come, we grab the guitar. Okay. I don't go to the bottle and that kind of thing. Nothing against anybody who enjoys partaking. For me, it's the guitar and a laptop, pen and paper. So I'm getting a little left of center here, but I do enjoy the writing process. Sometimes these songs, they write themselves.
Yeah.
When I write, I enjoy writing. That's probably my second favorite part. When I write, I don't force it. Sometimes I'm just driving down the street and, oh my gosh, I've got a great line. I got to write it down. And 5 minutes later, the song's done. Sometimes I go back to Word docs on my computer that I've had for 6 months and start piecing together a new idea.
So you collect ideas, and then they'll kind of coalesce into one macro idea that becomes a song?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some of the songs, so I'm working on my second album right now, and there's 6 singles released that will become the second album that'll come out at the end of this year. And a lot of those have been collected over a year, ideas that pop in my head and thoughts and memories and something that a Marine buddy will say or a feeling. And sometimes I get these little one-liners and I'm like, man, that's a chorus. Now I just need a 4-chord progression. And I think, am I going to make it major? Am I going to make it kind of a sad, aggressive song and make it minor? And I kind of think in those kind of terms.
It's very interesting because I think a lot of people think that songwriting is kind of like you sit in a conference room with your band or in front of a computer or a notepad and whatever, and just write songs. In other words, it's a very linear process, but I'm finding out that it may not be that way. It may be that some song took a decade to finally become a song. Is that kind of your experience, or how's that work for you?
Well, I will say that we talked about the song Never Surrender, which will be the title of the second album. That song came together in a couple hours.
Okay.
That song, those were I just said, I want to write something hopeful and positive. On that song, I was saddened by the veteran suicide epidemic, and I wanted to make a statement to stand up against PTSD and veteran suicide. That's specifically what the intention of that song was. So I just started thinking about all these one-liners that could maybe give hope. And it needed to be an uplifting song, so I needed to make it in a major progression. That song was done pretty quick. There are songs of mine that I pieced together and, Count the Cost, one of the new songs that, one of the new singles that came out at the end of 2023. That was a long process, that was a long process. And my bass player was a part of that as well. But sometimes these songs, they just come and they just write me, and I don't even know where it comes from, almost to the point that I feel like I can't even take credit for some of these songs. They just pop in my head.
Yeah. So that's one aspect of it, though. But like we were talking about before, we started recording, is I get your website here, and I'll have the link to the website now. It's like radio show post. It's ScottiFraser.com. I'm going through your songs now, and I said before, I'm not really a country guy, Scotty. I'm rock and roll or metal, but I'm, all your stuff, especially Red, White, and Blue. I'm like, I didn't know you at the time. I'm like, he had to freaking grow up listening to some Social Distortion or Volbeat or something, because there's a little of that rockabilly, punk, but melodic tone. Like Social Distortion is really good at that in your music. So I'm just curious, where's your sound come from? But it's not them. It's not a copy. It's definitely like your sound. So where did your sound come from? Because I liked it. I'm not just, I did.
Well, give credit where credit is due. I do own a original first pressing copy of Social Distortion's Mommy's Little Monster.
What?
It's an old one, and I probably got it at a metal and punk record store in the East Bay of Bay Area, California, when I was a kid. Yeah, so that is a great band, and just that you would even associate me with with a singer like that, and
Like Ness, right? Yeah.
yeah, Mike Ness, yeah, absolutely, very honored. I lived in California, and that's that's kind of a California style of punk, that Social Distortion, Bad Religion, Volbeat. I grew up pretty close to and played the same clubs as Green Day when they were coming up, and kind of dating myself, giving my age away a little bit, but that's kind of that Green Day style of writing as well. For me, it just comes out natural. I'm not a virtuoso on guitar, so I don't write a lot of complex things. When I'm in the studio with my producer, I always say I want to keep it danceable. I want the guys to bob their head, and I want the girls to be able to dance. I mean, look, I just don't want to scare the chicks away, right? I want it to be a positive experience. And coming from California and having been stationed at Camp Pendleton, I lived in Orange County, so there's a lot of that music around there. So I think this style inspired me even when I was a teenager, and still inspires me to this day. So Mike Ness is an incredible songwriter, and very passionate about what he believes in. I've seen the band a number of times. We both have a lot of tattoos, wear a pseudo Elvis hairdo, and I have definitely been an aficionado of 50s cars most of my life. Played in a rockabilly band in the Bay Area at one point, and
So hear me here. Your guitar setup, is it set up, with I want to say in some of the videos, I'm like, that's an older style guitar. I don't know guitars that well. I'm just going to tell you honestly. I mean, I like Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Yngwie. I like those guys, but I'm not guitar knowledge base at all, right? But I'm like, that looks like a very classic uh, guitar that he's trying to use to get a distinctive sound out of. And I was just curious if that was the case.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up. That's not something that everybody catches, but I'm pretty specific on what I like to use. I like a lot of vintage instruments,
Yeah,
kind of an old soul. The red guitar in the red, white, and blue video, that is modeled on the 70s Fender Telecaster Deluxe models. They have humbucker pickups in it, and my Les Paul that's in the Do or Die video, that's a reissue of a 60s model Gibson Les Paul Standard. I have a pickup that I designed through Seymour Duncan pickups. I was able to kind of pick my own specifics, generally modeled off of a 1959 Les Paul sound. The 59 is kind of my go-to, but I was able to modify and make some adjustments to a pickup, and it is called the SF Special Forces, SF Scotti Fraser, the SF Special Forces by Seymour Duncan, and that's what I put to get that modified 59 tone out of my guitars.
nice,
So thanks for
nice.
listening.
No. I'm listening, and I'm like, because it's funny you say that. I'm like, I'm kind of like I'm sitting there doing my thing, working on my work. Got my headphones on so people leave me alone, and I'm like, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm digging this. I'm getting in the groove, and red, white, and blue just hits me in the feels. I mean, I like to think that I bleed red, white, and blue. So, all goodness, which you put this together and you put your heart and soul into this. And this is your music, your outreach, your way of telling the stories. What happens to you when you get in front of a crowd, whether it's a small club or a bigger venue, and you step on stage, you have your guitar, the microphone comes on, and you start performing? What's going on in your mind, and how do you feel when that happens?
Well, I like to think I'm a very energetic performer. Um, I want to give something to the audience.
Yeah,
So I feel hope and empowerment, and I feel life through music, and I want the audience to feel that as well. So I want to give something to them as I go into my prep time, which starts the night before a show. I'm laying out everything. I don't want to forget anything. I'm getting the chords ready. I'm getting everything wrapped up so it's ready to set up on stage quick. I'm getting the guitars tuned up, making sure my strings are changed, that the amps are still working, all the tubes are working. And then the day of the show, the nervousness hits. And I've been doing this for years.
I was gonna
And it's
say
it's the butterflies and the nervousness. And I want to do it right. I want to give something to the people. And when I step on stage and that first song kicks in, it's like the ringmaster comes out. I remember hearing Paul Stanley of Kiss saying, "He's not just a ham, he's the whole pig." And I kind of, that was one of my inspirations for being a singer, to be honest, was Paul Stanley. And the way that he was like a circus ringleader. And as a performer, it's very important for me to unite everybody in that club, to bring everybody together, to get the message across. And when I'm on that stage, brother, I just feel whole and I feel healed. All the nightmares, all the hardships, and all the suffering and all that through war, the pain in my knees from being in the infantry for 10 years, all that just goes away. and the spirit can just be set free. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to be on stage and to be next to my brothers in the band. It's once again like being in a unit. We are focused on the mission, but this time the mission is the music. And it's an awesome thing.
So I want to ask you a couple of questions about your family, if I may. And
Yes.
the reason is there's a couple of people I've talked to who've had, they're trying to do this while being a dad or a mom or, husband, wife, the whole nine yards, right? Your wife watched you come out of the Marine Corps and develop this over time. Does your wife enjoy watching you play and understands the need for you to play?
Yes, she does. My wife is extremely supportive. One of the newest songs, Against the World, is actually one of my first stabs at just a simple love song, and it's about her. And it's another kind of upbeat, never surrender style kind of thing. But my wife has been on this journey with me through this solo music career, and she's probably been woken up many a night at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, hearing me with the amp, trying to turn the Marshall amp down low. And, and my kids hear it. I got 2 kids, 2 teenagers, and they hear it through the house. But music is really just kind of part of our soul. It's kind of how we mark time in this house. To give you a quick little analogy, I first met my wife back in San Francisco when we were teenagers, and she used to go to my old band's shows back then. She had the awesome Bon Jovi hair, and she was in the 90s. She was into the Aerosmith and Bon Jovi and had the big hair and the tight stonewashed jeans. And, full transparency, when I first saw her, I was just absolutely just smitten. I was kind of a rock star in San Francisco. I played 2 clubs filled with 1,000 people, and then she walks in there and I'm just stammering and stuttering on my words. So she's actually been a really big inspiration for my music career.
Man, that's really cool. Do your children have any musical inkling? Do they want to, play with dad, or do they roll their eyes like, dad's playing songs again, or it's like, dad, that was really cool. It's one or the other with kids, I'm finding out, with artists.
So both of my kids took piano, keyboard, and some drums.
Oh, wow.
Both, for a few years. My daughter has moved on to other endeavors, as is common in Texas. She went into FFA and was raising goats and raising animals, and my son is now, he loves music. I mean, this kid, he can hear it. He's more into hip hop, as a lot of the younger generation, but he can hear a song and he's got those lyrics mastered instantly.
Man, I'm jealous of that. I can't. I sight read music when I try to play, and the lyric, I gotta like study it to get the lyrics down. I don't understand that. I'm jealous.
Yeah, he's even got that I don't even have. I have to write things down and read it like 10 times to remember, but he can hear a song and he's got those words down.
Nice.
But yeah, it's very, very cool. So he's a big sports guy, high school sports guy. So he's kind of our jock of the family, and my daughter is like our kind of our cowgirl of sorts. But both very much love music.
So we talked about, your beginning, the Marine Corps career, and how you kind of made, this music what it is and the message you're trying to go with. But at the end of the day, this is a business. I mean, yes, you have your veterans advocacy and your outreach, but it's a business. I've learned from the Nashville scene of taking a song from conception to actually producing it right and getting it out there to a wider audience. So from a business side, what's it like when you have somebody at the record company or your producer hear a song and you all are putting together the album to, make an album, put it out? How does that process work?
Yeah, sometimes the business side of things can kind of zap some of the fun out of it. If you want to compete, or should I say, if I want to compete at a high level, I've got to be ready to, have that business side of things. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, just getting one song written, getting it ready for pre-production to get into the studio. I'm at a studio that has a Grammy-nominated engineer that runs the studio. He's a guy who's done sound for people like George Strait and Garth Brooks and Thin Lizzy, and the list goes on. Um, but just going through that studio process and getting it done in the studio, getting it mixed, being able to take some advice from and trust your producer. And then the promotion starts, just getting the song to the point where people even know it's out there. So you've got to be fairly business savvy. On a side note of that, I was a little frustrated with some of the things in the music industry, and maybe, how certain artists don't get noticed. And I wanted to put a spotlight on veteran artists as well. And there's so many of them out there, whether it's Scotty Hastings or Shannon Book or Malachias or Chris Turner, Schaefer Muller, there's Barbara Sim. There's so many great veteran artists that, I know you support. But I did something a little different, and it's in the beginning phases, but I started my own basically record label, and it's called Sargent Records. And it's basically a production company and upstart record label to support veteran artists, to bring hope and empowerment to veterans through music. So if it answers the question a little bit, kind of taking the business kind of to another level, and not only trying to promote my own music, but support some of these other veteran artists.
Well, I asked that because that's one of the frustrations a lot of veteran artists tell me is there's two frustrations. It's like, oh my God, I got out of the military. I'm trying to take care of myself, learn, how this all works. And it just seems like I'm not getting anywhere. And then if they finally get somewhere, it's like, wow, I did not realize that, I've had Chris Turner tell me that Nashville is a very brutally unfair machine if you're not willing to play by the rules and understand how. So, there's that aspect that a lot of artists, veteran or not, miss. So it's very interesting hearing your perspective. You say you have the album coming out at the end of this year. Now, if I want to make sure I don't miss that album, because I don't want to miss it, Scott, I really don't. How would people connect with you to stay in touch when you drop it, and how can we buy it?
So I'm not a hard man to find, so I will tell you on Facebook, Scotti Fraser Band. On Instagram, Scotti_Fraser_band. Or go to scottifraser.com. It's a tricky spelling, so you got to get the spelling right. Scotti with an I, Fraser with an S. I always give that disclaimer. But I may eat my words one day, but every single person that reaches out to me, whether it's the contact tab on scottifraser.com or whether it's on social media, I respond to. And if they want to hear the music without contact, it's on every streaming platform: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Pandora, everywhere. And yeah, so there's an album worth of music and a number of singles that will make up this second album already out there on Spotify. And I would love your followers and your listeners to log on and listen and hopefully find some inspiration and some hope through the music.
Well, what I'm hoping, Scotty, is when the second album drops, that we kind of coordinate and, like, I don't know, try to do like a live stream, like album release.
Absolutely.
Party. If you're game for it, we'll get on totally here and we'll do a live stream instead of recorded show and celebrate you doing this, because again, I mean, nothing against my country and Western brothers and sisters who do that. I know they work hard at it. Chris Turner's an awesome guy. Malachias, fantastic. Scotty Hastings, savage. Yep. But I didn't know who Jason Aldean was, Scotty. I didn't know. So I got in big trouble in Nashville. I really like, I was jiving to your music. I was like in the groove. So I just
Yeah.
it's all good. It's all good.
Well, I find it interesting that when I put on the cowboy hat, I'm country, and when I take off the cowboy hat, I'm punk or rock and roll, or so maybe I'm a man of many hats. And I kind of bounce between the two, maybe because Texas is halfway between Los Angeles and Nashville. So I feel in Texas kind of being an outsider a little bit, with one foot in each world. And, I love my rock and roll. I love punk. I love metal. I love a lot of country. And, I'm just kind of happy being somewhere in the middle.
Well, you're your own artist, man, and there's a lot of people who struggle to find out what kind of artist they are. So it didn't matter if you had the cowboy hat or on. To me, to tell you the truth, it was all good to me, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time. I'm at work, got my headphones on, and you got the YouTube channel fired up and going. And look, folks, I'll put all his links to his social media and YouTube channel and Oscar Mike Radio show post. So you can just check it out all right there. We want to support Scotti and what he's doing. You have the second album coming out. Is there anything in 2025 you're looking to do, or is it just get the album out and then tour some more, Scotti?
So we play throughout Texas, and on one respect, it may seem like, wow, you're just kind of stuck in your home state, but it's kind of like a Nashville where there's plenty, like in Nashville, you could play inside of Nashville and basically do a tour inside there. And because there's so many places to play and so many great music venues and so many great artists out of Nashville. But Texas is such a big place. I mean, it's bigger than most countries. So just going to the next city over in San Antonio that we play all the time, I mean, that's a full day turnaround. For 2025 or later this year, I have a big goal, and we're trying to work that out. I would love to do more of these veteran focused events. I play acoustically at some Gold Star events. While those are heartbreaking, it's very rewarding to serve families with music, families that lost, a service member, a child, or a spouse. I would like to do more of the veteran focused stuff. I would love to do a gig opening up for Gary Sinise, for Lieutenant Dan. Robert Irvine, the chef, he's got a big, he's actually a veteran of the British forces, British Marines. And I've met him before, and I would love to play one of his events that are for veterans. I would love to do more of that veteran focused types of those festivals.
I'm thinking like just idea. You got some Irreverent Warriors events that are getting pretty big. You got
love that. That's
the
right
Hero
where my
Stock.
heart is.
Jason Steiner, another Marine Corps veteran with
Steiner
Hero
is
Stock.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So go where the vets are. That's cool.
Yeah. So I've talked to Jason Steiner about getting on Hero Stock. They're looking at expanding, and maybe even having them go out of state. They're looking at even possibility of having Hero Stock in Texas. So we've talked about me playing those. And if it can come to fruition, that would be amazing. So that would be cool. That's really, really where my heart is.
Well, Scotti, like I said, it's just always a pleasure talking to fellow Marines. It's a small brotherhood in a way. Artists are their own brotherhood. I mean, they all know each other. And you're right. There's a ton of veteran artists out there that deserve our support and who are working very hard to perfect their craft, man. This time has flown by, but I've certainly, learned a whole lot, and I appreciate you sharing so openly with us.
It's an absolute honor to sit with you, my blood brother, and I hope the mission of my music can get out there. And I kind of on a closing thought, I sing and I write songs about specific topics that matter to me. They may not be some of the more common topics that would help me get on corporate radio, but hopefully one day. But my mission in music is really to inspire and bring hope through the lyrics to other people. Never surrender. The song says, I will never surrender on this life. And when people hear that song, I hope they sing it out loud so that they hear it and that they believe it, and it becomes like a mantra to stay strong and never quit on life and to keep moving forward. That's the mission.
I mean, well, in my personal life and people I really look up to, they might not have all the this or the that or the word salad after their name, but you know what, Scotti, they never quit. They just kept putting one foot in front of the other and
Right.
just never quit. And then they had their success, and good for them because they earned it. So that's a powerful message that we need to hear. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's an honor to spend time with you, my brother.
Oh man, I've had a great time. Thank you for sharing so openly. Hope to meet you in person at one of these veterans events someday. And look, folks, you know, you're getting to see some of the amazing talent that veterans have in and out of service. And so I encourage you to go to the links in the show post, check out the Scotti Fraser band. Oh, actually, no, ScottiFraser.com, excuse me, and all his social media links. I like the stuff. If you're a Social Distortion or Volpe fan and you got the mic, I just want to see that first Social Distortion album. Man, that is so rare. I gotta tell you, man, I'm like, you can't find that anywhere, not even on eBay anymore. And if some
Yeah,
fan
it's not
has
even
it,
on a record. It's not even on a record
Right.
label. They pressed
Right.
it, and I'm blessed enough to have one of those records.
there's Social
So-
Distortion fans that would do almost anything to listen to it live. I'm just saying. But anyway, we're gonna have you back on for album release party live stream. I'm already decided we're gonna do that. I'm just
Excellent.
really excited to see what else goes on. I love your music, man, and I love that you really have the message first. It's almost, to me, if I would wrap this up, I would say that what I got out of this conversation, it's message first through the music, and that seems to be how you operate, and that's what I got out of listening to your stuff before we talked today. So thank you.
Thank you. It's definitely a music with a mission.
There you go. There you go. Well, folks, this is Marine Corps veteran Scotti Fraser. I have all the information for you in the show post. I want to thank you for listening with us, Scotti. All the best to you. And as I say to every Marine Corps veteran, Semper Fidelis.
Semper Fi. God bless America.
Remember, on it teaches our mission. We care about it, we do it every day. But I think there are things that just hit you and give you a reason to go on. The theme for our 2024 for Reach Across America is Live with Purpose. It just seemed to fit in with the vows of the REAP, the 10 attributes that we feel represent our United States military. I thought, what a great opportunity to put those two things together and show our kids through how we act some of the things that can make their lives better, their communities better, and by doing that, the country better. For me, Live with Purpose, I think, it's a mindset. Set some guidelines and then go out and purposefully make life different, make a change. It's an opportunity to set an example.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load Co-Sinister One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans Crisis Line.